Hello everyone, my name is Sarav and I'm an audio scientist at Stanford University. As you can see outside my window. Spotify fans, please don't come after me for making this video. Spotify originally announced Lossless in 2021, around a similar time when Apple Music released Lossless. And 4 years later, for whatever reason, Spotify finally decides to release Lossless. A lot of basic consumers are getting really hyped up about Spotify Lossless, even though they're probably listening over AirPods, which are limiting the bitrate to 256 kilobits per second AAC, and probably can't even tell the difference in a blind test over wired headphones because they don't have the training or expertise required to identify the differences between lossless audio and 320 kilobits per second OGG Vorbis. Alongside the release of Lossless, Apple importantly also released Dolby Atmos, which for a lot of pop songs nowadays is a platform they're released in, and even older recordings have been remastered in Dolby Atmos. And my current favorite song, Lucky by Morton and David Guetta, is available in Atmos and Apple Music, and I want to use it as a demonstration for what differences in sound quality there really are between Dolby Atmos, Lossless, and 320 kilobits per second OGG Vorbis. If we go to Audacity, I have prepared 3 files here. The first is Lucky in Dolby Atmos, the second is Lucky in Lossless, and the third is Lucky with the lossless recording converted to 320 kilobits per second OGG Vorbis. The first 2 recordings are what I used from Apple Music, and this is with soundcheck enabled, so the standard loudness under full scale normalization is applied. As a quick primer as to what these waveforms represent, positive values on the left represent where the headphone diaphragm or speaker driver, whatever you want to call it, moves forward, and the negative values indicate where it moves backwards, and the shape of the waveform determines the shape of the displacement of the driver. Now, when visually analyzing these waveforms, the bottom 2 recordings look virtually identical at all locations. Zooming in, both of them have clipped peaks. Really, both are terrible. We go to the Atmos recording, we can see significant dynamic range differences. Look at the, clear, true peaks versus on the lossless and Vorbis recordings, we have compressed peaks. You can go to more significant sections. Actually, this is the significant section, but the contrast of the recording is preserved in the Atmos recording versus in the lossless and Vorbis recordings. It's dead and lifeless. Now, why is the lossless master so compressed? Well, if we go to Effect, volume and compression, normalize peak amplitude to 0 dB, and listen to the differences and loudness between the lossless and Atmos, starting with the Atmos. Lucky, I've been winning. Clock don't stop, still spinning. We can see that with the recordings taken to their limits, the Atmos recording sounds significantly quieter because it has much more dynamic range than the lossless master. And the reason mastering engineers tend to do this is because a lot of devices such as Bluetooth earphones with small amplifiers inside cannot output enough sound to give significant volume for these Atmos recordings with high dynamic range, and Dolby specifies that Atmos mixes must be submitted with maximum loudness under full scale values of -18 decibels. And this is a bit of technical jargon, but basically Dolby Atmos files have much higher dynamic range than lossless masters when comparing pop recordings of the same song. Now, why don't we listen to what exactly you are hearing between Atmos and lossless? So I'll start by playing the Atmos recording. And you can switch to lossless.
Lucky, I've been winning. Clock don't stop, still spinning. Lucky, I ain't tripping. Took that shot, now I'm living. Lucky,
very easy to hear. The differences in contrast are ridiculous. If we do the same thing with the OGG Vorbis recording, I know this is going to be compressed by YouTube, but
Lucky, lucky, I've been winning.
both of them sound compressed and lifeless.
Clock don't stop, still spinning. Lucky, lucky.
Only the Atmos recording sounds good. And if we want to look at exactly what the differences are between the OGG Vorbis and lossless file, we can just invert the lossless file and play both of the recordings at the same time for the lossless and OGG Vorbis at 30 seconds. We can see here on the playback level indicator, minus 36 dB. These differences are very hard to hear for the human ear because the way the compression codecs work is that they remove information that should theoretically be masked by masker frequencies. There's a book by one of my Stanford professors, Marina Bosi, on perceptual audio coding if you want to read more about that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something useful, and if you want the best sound quality your audio equipment can deliver, be sure to use Apple Music with Dolby Atmos. And also, just a bonus tip, if you download the Dolby Atmos files in Apple Music, the sound quality will worsen, the frequency response changes for some reason, and the recordings sound thin and just pretty bad, but streamed Dolby Atmos on Apple Music sounds amazing. Lossless recordings just can't compare. Spotify releasing lossless in 2025 is just disrespectful without also releasing Atmos.